Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 311 of Meet the Farmers. I'm your host, Ben Eagle. Now, for today's episode, I headed just down the road from where I am here in Norwich to speak to a seriously inspiring young farmer called Thomas Gent. Thomas is a fourth-generation farmer, although styling himself as a third-generation regenerative farmer from the Lincolnshire-Cambridgeshire border, and he's the founder of the business Gentle Farming. Since fully transitioning to a regenerative farming model in 2008, the farm now consists of 800 hectares with 750 in food production, growing a range of cereal, perennial and break crops. He also has a keen interest in managing natural capital, in robotics, education and entrepreneurship, all of which I hope comes across in today's interview. So let's head over to my interview with Thomas Gent. Tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, because you're farming about an hour away from where we are now. You live in Norfolk, but you farm in Lincolnshire.
So I'm Thomas Gent. I'm the fourth generation on our family farm, and as you say, we farm. We actually farm on the Lincolnshire-Cambridgeshire border, so just the other side of Sutton Bridge, which is about an hour away from here. So I kind of work on the family farm a few days a week, and I also have a different job with a company called Greener, and I also have maybe 1,000,001 different other projects on the go at the same time. I moved this way with my girlfriend, but we're just at the minute looking to buy a house back near the farm.
Yeah.
Just got to try and find the right house.
Yeah, well, it's a challenge, isn't it?
It's a challenge.
So you grew up on
Yeah, I've always lived there. We've only moved here about a year just to move in with my girlfriend, and to sort of see what it's like a bit away from the farm for a bit. As a kind of break, I guess. And now I think originally, definitely when I was growing up, I didn't know if I really wanted to be in farming. And then I went through a bit of a phase of okay, I definitely want to be in farming, but do I want to be on my farm? Yeah. And then, so that kind of was part of coming over here, was learning if I did want to definitely live there and kind of actually farm. And I definitely have missed it a lot and wish I could be closer, so that's why we're moving back that way.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the family farm, right the way through from what the land is, what the soils are, and what the current cropping is.
So we farm on the fens. We're arable farming, so we farm about 800 hectares. I'm the fourth generation, so great granddad kind of got the first fields after the Second World War. And then granddad obviously farmed, and then dad really runs the farm now, but he would like to do a lot less, and hence I'm going back that way. I would say I'm slowly in the phase of taking over from dad. We're fairly heavy. We haven't got much kind of traditional fen silt. It's not really like that. It's fairly heavy clay soils, we're cereal arable cropping. We haven't got any root crops, although it's an interesting debate we always have. But we are kind of very focused on no-till regen farming. We've been full no-till since 2008, and really fairly heavily invested in that direction. My uncle also runs a poultry farm on this one side of the business. We always supply Happy Egg, but that's kind of his side of the business, and then dad's side of the business is the arable.
Okay. But you've been no-till since 2008.
Yeah.
Why then? Can you sort of let's zoom a little bit more into that particular time and sort of the decision process behind that? Yeah, so
I'm 28, so I was 10, 11-ish when we made that transition. So I'm not claiming the responsibility or the glory, depends which camp you're in. So dad and granddad made that decision effectively, and they made that decision really for pure financial reasons. Granddad has got a friend, Tony Reynolds, who kind of had just started no-till farming a couple of years before, just sort of near Peterborough. And he'd also been to Argentina. He'd seen them doing a bit of no-till out there. And also our farm finances weren't in the best position, brutally honest, right? Back then the wheat price was pretty rubbish. We were also just kind of unluckily at a time where our machinery needed quite a lot of renewal. So it was basically two options of should we go to the bank and do what we would normally do, is go and ask for lots of money and go and buy some big new Challengers and carry on ploughing, or we might as well try this no-till thing that just seemed to work.
Yeah.
So we tried no-till with just one field that first year, and luckily for me, I guess, that was the best yielding field on the farm that individual year, for whatever fluky reason it was. So Dad and Grandad decided, like, that was it, we're completely going, sold everything, went full no-till straight away instantly, which was not the right way to do it, and we wouldn't recommend that now. But, like, there wasn't much other knowledge then, so they just did it, and we did a lot of years of making a lot of mistakes.
But that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's as a real advocate of regen. I mean, surely that's what you'd say, is that you try things, right, and then some things work, some things don't, but you hopefully learn as you go.
Yeah, but I guess that's life as well, right? And I think it's definitely the sort of people meet. So it's a weird dynamic, really, because so me and Grandad are very similar, and we're like really always want to do new things, and like often I eat completely stupid, crazy things that are like random. And then Dad's kind of, A, actually kind of in charge of doing it, and B, is a little bit more, just wants an easier life and things to be simple and not have to have all of this stuff.
Okay.
So you can already see this fun dynamic that happens where me and Grandad come together and think of some crazy ideas, and Dad has to we all have to work together.
Let's zoom out a bit in terms of regen ag generally. You've clearly been in this space quite a while as a family.
Yeah.
And actually, even in terms of groundswell, the terms of the history of groundswell, you've been playing this game a lot longer than many in that sort of more recent context. So, what have been your learning points, I suppose, for someone who is actually quite a way down this journey already? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I don't think there's like an end. There's not an end goal. Like I definitely haven't got. We definitely on our farm have not got there yet. Like it's always a kind of evolving thing of seeing what's going to work and what different things are going to happen. And I would say it's definitely a thing of always trying something new. Like we've been going no-till sort of 17 years or so, and this year we've got, I could probably name like 5 different kind of experiments or things that we're trying to see if they work better than other things. And I think the kind of continuous way of doing that is really important, rather than kind of just following the rule book, if that makes sense, thinking a little bit more outside the box. Then I would say is, the biggest opportunity I see at the minute is like agriculture, regen ag, whatever you want to call it, has had, it's got so much interest at the minute. Like there's so much buzz about it. I've never felt the kind of public interest in this space like there never has been this before.
Yeah.
So it's a massive opportunity. So definitely the bit that I'm kind of thinking about is how we kind of make our farm business more like a traditional business. What marketing can we do? How can we brand ourselves? How can we promote what we're doing? How can we connect with customers and all that kind of thing, rather than just being this distant farming person right down the bottom of the supply chain.
Yeah.
I think also in our farming business we all have very different specialties. Like Grandad shouldn't have been a farmer, he should have been an engineer. That's what he does. Like he's on his he's taught himself, he's like 78 and he's taught himself like CAD, and he's drawing all his CAD designs, and he's got 1,000,001 patents for lots of different things, and that's him. And then Dad's really focused on the kind of agronomic stuff, really biology and how that works is awesome. And I really, really like the kind of business aspect side of it, selling, trading, marketing, that kind of thing. So definitely that's probably a really long-winded answer, but the conclusion was supposed to be try and do what you're good at and work with people that are not good at the bits.
Yeah.
Or good at the bits that you're not good at.
Yeah. Pull together a team. And actually, if we push that forwards towards gentle farming as well, your own business, to tell us a little bit about the origin story of that.
Yeah, so like it kind of came about because when I came back to the farm, I grew up on the farm and we'd always done this no-till thing, right? And I didn't really think of anything of it because it was what I'd always known ever my whole life of farming. So I didn't really think about it. And then when I was about 20-ish, I kind of saw friends coming back from uni and going to farms, and I started to realise how different what we were doing was. So I kind of then sort of set myself a challenge a bit of like, how can we kind of meaningfully differentiate our farm and talk about more what we do? And that led me to, I need a bit of a brand to talk about our farm more. So that's when I created Gentle Farming, which is really I don't know what you call it, it's really the brand of our farm. That's probably the best way to describe it. And yeah, it's led us to lots of different random opportunities. Mostly recently, actually, we've just partnered with Huel, you know, the drinks brand,
Okay.
and we supply lots of oats into them. But it's more than that. It's you know, that's the kind of the basic element of, you know, we're growing oats and they're buying oats, right? But it's more that, like, how can we market this together? How, you know, they've done lots of filming on the farm. How can we tell a story with them, rather than just being a kind of supplier?
Yeah, it's becoming quite clear already, actually, in this conversation, how partnership seems to be very key to your way of thinking.
Yeah, I think so.
And that could be on the farm level as well, in terms of day to day, but also reaching out and actually expanding what you can do, expanding those opportunities by creating those partnerships. So I suppose in terms of building relationships and the confidence in building those relationships as well, where do you think that comes from?
Good question. So when I was like, Mum can never believe what I do nowadays, because when I was a kid and when I was young, I was like the shyest, most nervous kid in school. Like, you know, if we were in a restaurant, I wouldn't be able to like order a drink. I'd have to go and get my sister to do it. You know, I was like the nervous one. And nowadays I do lots of, you know, podcasts and talking on stage and presentations and stuff. And I don't know how I suddenly decided. I think maybe it's because I found something I was interested in and wanted to talk about, if that makes sense. I love it. I just want to talk about all this stuff all the time. It's super, super interesting.
Yeah. And when again, on the relationship building side, when you're thinking about what that next partnership might be or what the right partnership is, how do you decide on what makes that fit well?
So I think there's two elements. Like, one of my biggest problems in the way I work is like I know it, as I'm too unfocused. I'm too like, I just, you know, look at all the shiny like ideas, and I've got 1,000,001 ideas on how can I make them all work, and that ends up spreading me quite thin. The way I get around that, I guess, is if whatever idea or project I've got on the go, finding someone that is much better at it than me and knows what they're talking about much better than me, and working with them is definitely what I aim to do in everything. You know, we've got insect farming on the farm, and you know that's something that we, you know, there's another business that does that, and you know we're just part of it, right? And then robotics and, you know, loads of different things. But I would say I'm not the expert in any of them. I'm just working with the people that are. But then it definitely comes down to that personal relationship. I think that's probably the bit I'm quite good at, is building a personal relationship with people who are expert in something, and supporting them and encouraging them to do more of the bit that they're good at, if that makes sense. So robotics, for example, work with a company called List. Their founder is Christoph. He's insanely good at robotics, right? Really, really good, knows exactly what he's talking about. He's not, maybe, you know, he would forgive me to say this, he's maybe not sometimes the most organised person. Whereas, like, so that means if we kind of work together, we can make some awesome stuff happen.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about natural capital and the markets element of this, because this is another hat that you have on, that you wear. And yeah, where did that start? And tell us about sort of the beginnings of your experience in this market.
So that was really the original starting point of gentle farming, probably, is nowadays gentle farming is how I sell our produce and our grains for a premium. But back then it was really about how can we market the natural capital benefits of our farm. And that was really just, I was a bit bored in lockdown, and we did some soil samples, and I started to realise that there is carbon being stored in our soils to some extent. And you could read in the newspaper about all of these companies starting to value and trade carbon. So that was like, okay, that's how most of my ideas go, of like, okay, there's something here. And then I generally go, okay, let's have a go at it. So that's what I did. I tried to find a way how I could monitor and monetize the carbon activities on our farm. I pretty quickly realized that definitely this is a good opportunity and a good idea, but you really do need quite a lot of certification and credibility to be able to play in that game.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the expertise and the cash again to be able to do that sort of thing. So then I found a company called a Greener, who were just starting in Denmark, and they it was a good partnership, right? They had the bits that I didn't have, and I had some bits that they didn't have. So I joined the team. That's now my day job, really, is working in that kind of carbon trading space. Again, I think it's such a crazy opportunity that farmers have got. There's no other industry in the world that has the ability to be a kind of climate solution whilst doing its normal activities. You're never going to find a car factory that can suddenly become climate positive in some magical way. Whereas we can do that in agriculture, and to be honest, we do that most of the time anyway when we're managing our soils. So yeah, it's super exciting opportunity for farmers. And
in your view, that opportunity is only going to increase, right?
Yeah, it's definitely it's what everybody sees if you open any newspaper or read anything. Everybody's talking about climate. I think the really exciting bit is we're still at the phase in the kind of development of the market where farmers can really kind of get hold of it and take an opportunity and kind of jump in and be at the forefront, rather than what we've traditionally done in agriculture is wait for it to happen to us.
So agri-tech is something that you take a keen interest in. Putting your neck out just for a minute, what do you think are going to be some of the key innovations that are going to become more important, would you say, over the next 5-10 years?
That's a good question.
Where should we be focusing?
Yeah, it's really boring. And when it first came around, I thought, it's just a silly, stupid thing. But I've seen some of the new AI tech that's come in, and it's insane. I think it is going to completely change. In my opinion, it's just as big as when the internet came about. It's going to be crazy. I think how it fits into what we do day to day is the kind of interesting bit for me. And I think the big thing in agriculture is there's been loads of tech developments, but they have pretty poor adoption, other than GPS probably. So it's my interest really, I think, is how do we make some of these things actually more widespread adoption than just some cool innovative farmers think it's interesting,
Yeah. What's the answer to that?
Yeah, I knew he was going to answer that. I actually am not sure. I think really it's taking the risk element away from the farmer. I think a lot of tech is developed and then farmers are asked to pay for it or buy it or use it full risk to themselves. I think really the agri-tech model needs to flip slightly, where the whoever it is, the ag-tech company, gives the product to the farmer for free, but takes some of the benefit of it being used in the field. How we actually do that, I'm not sure, but I think that's the only way that it's going to get some more widespread adoption, is to kind of change the business model slightly.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how we do that.
Yeah. Looking ahead in that next 5-10 year period, I suppose, what is next for you?
So I'm obviously moving back to the farm. So Dad's is he 56, something like that, and he's pretty categorically said he would like to not be responsible or be fully responsible for the farm when he's 60.
Okay.
So I've got that looming. How am I going to deal with that? And is that something that I want to do full time? Is that a farm manager? Is that working with another farm? I don't know. So I've got that to figure out. But then I think other than that, honestly, I just love what I do. Doing a bit too many different random things. The question
I know
is,
what that's like.
Yeah. The question is which one, if any of them take off and keep me busier than the other ones.
Yeah. And where do you think the industry's going to be in 5-10 years? Because there's so much happening at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of change. I think the next 5 years are going to be pretty kind of fundamental for agriculture in the UK. Is it going to, this year actually me and Grandad and Dad had a bit of a tour around Canada. We visited some farms around Canada, and the scale of agriculture is so different, right? It makes it seem stupid that I'm trying to grow wheat on a 5-hectare field. Yeah. It's just what's the point when you go in their fields and they're the field's bigger than my farm.
Yeah.
How are we gonna kind of fit into this more global world? And I think the only way we're going to do it is to sell more premium niche crops, really.
With time will tell.
Exactly.
What gives you hope for the future?
Probably two things really. The like interest and in, let's call it, investment in agriculture is huge. You know, if you go in kind of VC worlds or anything like that, everybody wants to be invested in agri-tech, which, you know, whether they find the right one or not, who knows, but it definitely means it's like an interesting space and there's lots of money coming into it. And then I would say the public interest also, like, you know, I don't know, a few years ago you wouldn't get kind of brands or companies wanting to come for farm tours and connect with their supply chain and all this kind of thing, and nowadays it's like everybody wants to do that. And, you know, we do farm tours all the time for companies that want to just like learn what region ag is like and that kind of thing. So yeah, again, there's like so much opportunity. Always my biggest problem is like I have just too many ideas and which one should I focus on. I think something that I do think is going to be such a big thing in the next 4 or 5 years is agroforestry. It was been talked about a lot, and it happens a lot in kind of some niche areas, right? But like, I do think it's going to be a big thing in the next few years.
I mean, again, just returning to the regenerative space as well. I mean, even groundswell this year compared to last year, the number of companies that are just jumping up in this space in really quite a quick time is really notable. Do you see that continuing, that growth within the regen space?
Definitely for the next few years. I think it will settle down when we start to kind of, we start to understand which businesses are being more successful and which aren't. But right now it's a bit of like free for all. Everybody's trying to find their niche and find their market and find their opportunity. It will settle down naturally, right, as stuff starts to work and stuff doesn't work. But yeah, I think the next few years are definitely going to be crazy.
We're going to finish the show with the same two questions that I'm going to ask you now. The first is, if you had a message for the public, any message, what would it be?
Oh, that's a difficult one.
That is why I asked.
Yeah. I think I would say it's a little bit of a cheesy one maybe, but like, I don't think people really appreciate soil enough. Like soil is well, let's say soil supports pretty much all life that there is and everything that anybody owns and uses and the whole planet, you know, even plastics and fossil fuels, right? It was once came from some dinosaur that ate something in the soil somewhere, right? So I think people should love and appreciate soil more. And I keep thinking that somebody needs to do a big, like, you know, sympathy marketing campaign about how important and how damaged soil is and how much we should care for it.
And the final one is your message to farmers.
I think I kind of maybe said it a lot, but like, I think farming, we've had a super tough year, right? Most people have had maybe some of the worst yields they can remember. But I do genuinely think that the next 5 years are going to be full of turmoil, and that is going to bring a lot of opportunity. So basically, if your farming business is kind of structured and organised and presented in the right way, I think there's going to be a huge amount of opportunity. But it's not going to be the same opportunity that we used to. You know, we used to, I don't know, a new fertiliser coming out and it improves all our yields by 10% and we go and buy it and we get 10% more yields. It's not going to be the same as that. It's going to be opportunity, but it's going to be different to what we've ever experienced before.
I think that's quite a nice point to end it on.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there. Thomas Gent, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries, it was good fun.